We have a true trailblazer joining the program today. Christina Picton and Team Canada are gearing up for the inaugural Women's World Para Ice Hockey Championships in a couple of weeks. She joins the show to talk about how her and her teammates are ready for the competition. You won't want to miss this. Let's get started.
Welcome to Parasport Nation with Alex Smythe and Nathan Clement.
Welcome into Parasport Nation. I'm your host, Alex Smythe. As always, joined by co-host Nathan Clement. Nathan, you got soccer on your mind today. Talk to us a bit why it's rattling around, bouncing back and forth, and you're dreaming of goals.
Yes, it's dribbling in my mind, if you were to say that. So right now, it's an exciting time for a lot of sports as we have the Wheelchair Basketball's America's Cup. We also have My Sports Paracycling World Championships happening soon. But right now, we have the IFCPF or Seven-a-Side Soccer's Euro Championships happening right now in England. And this is an exciting little tournament, just really showing some of the Europe's best, but also the world's best teams, as we got star-studded lineup throughout the tournament of my former sport, Seven-a-Side Soccer. And it's really kind of one of those sports that it lost its game status back after 2016, but still has an amazing core base and has amazing high-level championships with star-studded rosters like Ukraine, England, Germany, and the Netherlands, who are all heavy hitters. So it's a really exciting week and tournament of action. And if you're a soccer fan or a football fan, using the correct term to the European audiences, this is a great tournament to watch and really spectate and see.
Yeah, it's just such a shame that, Seven-a-Side has kind of fallen into the background and into the sidelines while Five-a-Side starts to take center stage. Like, it's great. Obviously, like, I'm a fan of soccer/football. I love the sport. I'm excited to see, what happens with the Five-a-Side World Championships, as we've been talking with Team Canada members, and as they're getting ready for that. I'm excited for the World Cup next year. I'm gearing up to get my tickets to those games. But yeah, I would love to see, us be able to enjoy more. And it feels like it's such an easy opportunity to bring that back into the fold. You think about the Paralympics. Obviously, they're always very concerned how many sports are they including in a summer Paralympic game. But it's like, come on, there's an opportunity here. There's definitely opportunity for more classifications, more sports, especially one like soccer, where you really only have the one classification of five-a-side. That's it. Expand the roster for athletes and classifications to get in there, because the sports are so good. They're so enjoyable. But for you, what was your favorite part of playing? Like, take us back to young Nathan Clement on the soccer pitch. What position were you? What was your style, your tactic? Were you finesse? Were you grit and grind? What was your makeup as a player?
I was a full grit grinder, get the ball out of the box, get the ball out of the zone. I kind of played more as a left back or right back, kind of as a defender more or less, but sometimes I'd play the striker. I wasn't the fastest athlete in the world, but what I would do was I would try to get in real gritty, make slide tackles, really break up plays, or even be the instigator for a motion, a movement going forward. But with Seven-a-Side, it's such a beautiful sport and it's so unique because there's a different classification system where there's 4 different classes. They have a category for brain injury, but they also have categories for people who are impaired in both their legs, impaired in their arms, but also more conditions like mine, cerebral palsy, a dystonia, a hemiplegia side, and the skill level's high. The skill level's fast. There's no offsides. What's unique, what I loved about it was the pitch was smaller, so it was very quick, a lot of quick interval sprinting, so your fitness had to be high. Instead of throw-ins, because a lot of athletes like myself, as I do a throw-in motion on screen, aren't able to do it with their one arm. So instead you roll the ball like you're bowling to get it into action and into play. And really with Para Seven-a-Side, where it has been, being in Rio, being in games before that, and even being at the Toronto 2015 Para Pan Am Games, where we just hit the 10-year anniversary of that beautiful event. There's so much that can be done with that grassroots movement, where I know the coach, Drew Ferguson, has done a lot of reaching out to different clubs, reaching out to teams. Like, I remember times when I was on the roster, they'd do stuff with the Whitecaps. They'd also do stuff with Toronto FC, with the club now called Club de Foot Montreal, or whatever name. They're no longer called Montreal Impact anymore. But that's a whole different rant that none of you want to listen to, that I won't get into. But they had a really solid grassroots level. And even something that we see in Europe that hopefully they can bring to North America at some point is, in Europe, I know England has a massive CP or seven-a-side soccer league, same as Spain, same as Germany. There's also one in Russia too that's massive, but it's all throughout the world. There's different leagues, there's different competitions, and there's so much being done on that grassroots development side that unfortunately we don't fully get to see because it's not a Paralympic sport.
Yeah, and you bring up a very interesting point with the fact that, we have just come up to that 10-year anniversary of the Toronto Pan Am and Pan Am games. And I think it's like, you look at the lasting legacy of those games. You look at the lasting legacy of Vancouver 2010. There are still facilities, there is still programming that has been established from those competitions that are still paying dividends today in Toronto. You get all these venues that are accessible, that have been become hubs for parasport in and around the GTA because of the Toronto Pan Am Games, and they're being used today. They're used for both grassroots, but also for high performance development athletes who then get their start and get to go on and compete in international competitions, and that's huge. And I would love to see going forward, and hopefully we do see some of that impact roll over from the World Cup that we get next year. Vancouver, your neck of the woods, Toronto, my neck of the woods, both hosting games. Hopefully we see, even if it's a small impact, a small boost to soccer on the para side in Canada, that would be a big win for these different sports and these organizations. That I'm hopeful about that. I'm sharing optimism into the world, Nathan.
There's so much to be hopeful for with the World Cup and FIFA as an organization. It's always tricky, like what happens there. But you mentioned Vancouver 2010, you mentioned Toronto 2015, and just that lasting legacy. Like the Toronto Pan Am Center in Scarborough is a marvel in sports science, but also that development too, as you talk about development programs, having access to elite facilities for the wheelchair basketball team, wheelchair rugby, and so many different programs. And even I know, as a former swimmer, the amount of times before the Pan Am Games, but also after the Pan Am Games, I would have camps, I would have competitions at that pool, and that is the gold standard of what we can have in Canada. And hopefully down the road, we can have another Pan Am Games, we can have another Paralympics in our country. But even going to 2026 in that World Cup, a little closer to home at the time of this recording, the Vancouver Whitecaps just signed Thomas Müller, a former Bayern Munich player, played on the German national team, was a part of their World Cup victory. Getting him is massive for sport development, soccer development in Vancouver, and also the growth of the NSL, the Northern Super League, the Women's Soccer League is major for all these programs. And now we've had the goalball, the Women's Soccer five-a-side on here. Like, this is what we need. We need these teams. We need these players coming here. When we have the world's best coming to our cities and our locations, it's only going to help that grassroots. It's only going to help that development on the able-bodied side, but also on that para side. And it's so exciting what's going to happen 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, when we look at that legacy in 2036 and 2046.
How dare you bring up Thomas Müller moving to the Vancouver Whitecaps and not allow me as a Bayern fan, as a Team Germany fan, to react, because we have to move on in today's episode where you have such a limited time. I will talk to you about that off the air because I have thoughts, but we are so thrilled to be joined by one other legend from the sport of para ice hockey, specifically women's para ice hockey, because Christina Picton has been blazing a trail for women in the sport for over a decade since she first started joining and competing in the sport. She is now working so hard with her teammates to prepare for the inaugural World Championship for women's para ice hockey. She joins the program to talk about this momentous occasion and her growth and development within the sport. Here's our conversation with Christina Picton. Christina, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So we're a few weeks away from the inaugural Women's World Championships. How are you feeling heading into that competition?
Oh my gosh, I am just so excited. We're about 2 weeks out, and all of the work and preparation is done, and now it's just about doing all the little things like eat and sleep and fuel correctly and make sure the mental game is there. But I'm just so excited.
Christina, thank you for joining us. You were only 11 when you started playing para ice hockey. How big is this moment for you, but also the sport as a whole, having that inaugural World Championships?
Yeah, I don't think 11-year-old Christina could have imagined how big of an impact hockey was going to have on her. But yeah, to be a part of this inaugural event is just such an honor, and I just feel so grateful to be, a part of the event and a part of a group of women that have basically pioneered this sport worldwide. So it's really exciting.
You had mentioned there that the team has done the training, the prep work is all taken care of. Now you're just waiting for the event itself. Can you talk us through a bit of that prep work that you and the team did to prepare for this event?
Absolutely, yeah. This season we had a rivalry series against the USA back in April, and that was a really great opportunity to practice our systems and kind of figure out the tone of what our team wants to bring to the ice each game, and it was a fun opportunity to play around with line combinations as well. So we learned a lot from that series. And we were fortunate to have a few Eastern and Western regional camps, and then one final full team training camp last month. And then just all of the little technical meetings and Zoom calls in between that. So we're feeling really prepared and really connected as a team by the time we hit the ground there in Slovakia.
How is the energy going to Slovakia? As you mentioned, all the training camps, and now we're in the final stages as a lot of para competitions or sports competitions, that landing the plane part where you're about to get into the meat of the action, the competition. So how is the team's energy? How's the vibe going into Slovakia?
The energy is so good. I've been a part of this program for a long time, and the thing that sticks out in my mind is just the amount of focus that there is within this group. It's such a dedicated group of women, and we're just so focused and excited, and we're ready to be there for one another and to represent Canada. It's great.
You talked about how you've been a part of this program and working towards this moment for a long time. Like, when the news finally did come that we're finally getting our world championship, like, what was that feeling like for you personally?
Oh, just a long time coming, kind of. Like I said, I've been involved since 2010, and I've seen a lot of seasons in women's para ice hockey, and the growth over the last 4 or 5 years in particular has been really exciting to watch and then also be back a part of. So yeah, it just feels like we're ready to go. We've been waiting, and we're all just kind of itching to showcase what we're made of, right? It'll be great.
You've also had an athletic career in Nordic sit skiing as well, where you competed at the Beijing 2022 Paralympic Games. But you started the sport in 2019. Was there any reason for that switch getting into para-Nordic? And is there any big similarities you found between para ice hockey and Nordic skiing?
Yeah, the switch came from, so I coached a learn to beginner kind of para hockey course, and one of my participants, her name's Linda, she'd been out for 2 seasons, and she used to be a skier, and she'd tried to get me out on skis for, I think 2 years before I kind of was more open to giving it a shot. And it just came at a time where a lot of the pressures and a lot of the politics in hockey was just kind of it was coming to a head for me. So skiing was a really great big breath of fresh air for me, and it became a different outlet to, express myself and to explore what I was capable of. And it was really it was a really great opportunity, and it still is bringing really great opportunities, and it's just an exciting thing to be a part of. And man, the things that have transferred over, the cardiovascular obviously has come over, and I feel like I can do hockey shifts for days because of skiing now. Like, you don't really get winded as quickly. But yeah, just the level of athleticism and the things that I've learned from my Nordic teammates too has really elevated myself as an athlete, and hoping to bring some of those habits and things I've learned over to the hockey world too. So they've both really complemented one another.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I had a chance to chat with your fiance, Colin Cameron, in Toronto a few months ago. And I know that the two of you do some training together. Like, what is it like training with him? Because obviously he's a part of the national Para-Nordic team as well. And like, is it fun training? Does it get a bit competitive between the two of you? What is that dynamic like?
It's definitely, there's some days where the competitive edge really gets to both of us. But I think overall, I'm just so grateful it's something that we get to share. And as I've started getting back into the hockey world too, he's my biggest supporter and my biggest fan. And it's really great having a training partner that, on those days where maybe I'm not feeling my best, he's still there in my corner and helping me and pushing me for not just skiing, but also for hockey too. So it's a really great partnership there.
That's really amazing. Recently, we just had Milano Cortina design the medals, but you're also a graphic designer and have done a lot of logos for multiple parasport organizations. If you were to design a Paralympic medal, what would you put on it?
That's a really good question. There's a whole process there. So how could I come up with an answer in 10 seconds here?
It is a very hard thing to do on the spot. Me and Nathan, just for context, we had put each other to the test. So me being based in Hamilton, I talked about like kind of drawing some of the inspiration from like the Great Lakes of the region, or maybe doing a little Easter egg like a raccoon in there, because raccoons are synonymous in Ontario. Nathan, what were some of the things you put on your medal design?
I think because I'm from Vancouver, so I mentioned the mountains. I believe I said the Inukshuk, as well as like an orca whale, just very reminiscent of like the Pacific Ocean, but also a lot of indigenous designs. So there's so many different ways you can take it with that. But like what's so fun is like your hometown or where you're from can create so many like little symbols, and you're just able to run with it with like any metal design.
I just did a medal design for Niagara Games, the Ontario Games. And anyway, so that design, because I am from Niagara, had a lot of references to the water, the falls, the agriculture with the area, the fruits and all of the grapes and vines and things. So there was a lot of home country feel there as well, with Niagara being represented on a medal. So I guess that would be similar to my design.
But was there a raccoon hidden in there, Christina?
No raccoons, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
But we'll keep that in mind for next time.
And you've also had the opportunity to travel around and compete in a variety of different sports. One of our favorite questions to ask athletes who come on: what is your favorite food destination that you've had the opportunity to travel to? Because that's one of our passions beyond sport is food. So what is your favorite food destination?
Well, when I spend time in Italy, the pizza, the pasta, the bread, all the things in Italy. So I look forward to hopefully getting a chance to go back there in a few short months and eat some more Italian food for sure.
You can't go wrong with Italy. Just the food choices there are always amazing. Going back to the hockey side, what is your goal, your vision for the future? As like the big thing in para ice hockey is getting that game status. Is there anything that you see that can really help get the women's side that Paralympic status, say for 2030 or 2034?
Yeah, well, I think this inaugural World Championships is obviously a really big stepping stone for that big dream, big goal. So I think as long as we can kind of capitalize on the momentum that we're gaining from this event and, continue the conversation for the next 2, 3, 4 years, and just make our way at the table there. That's kind of what I see for us in the future, just continuing to build.
And for yourself, Christina, because like as we've talked in this conversation, like you've been involved in this sport for so long, the hard work, the determination, being one of the few women to be able to play on the men's national sledge hockey team, to now helping really kind of blaze a trail for women in this sport. When you reflect back on your career, what impact and what hope do you have for the sport for women in total, that like you've had the opportunity to really leave an impact? Like, is there something that you feel like you've been able to accomplish during your career so far, or maybe looking forward you still hope to accomplish to help grow the sport for women?
Yeah, that's a big question. I think when I look back on what the years have already brought, I'm excited and proud to be a part of what this sport has been, and just to help it grow and to push that level of compete, and then also help bring more eyes to the sport, because I think that that's a big driver for the recognition and for it to continue to grow. And so if I can continue to, just continue to mentor and help bring the level of the game higher and higher each year, and inspire more women to be a part of it, and show them that there is a place for them in para hockey, then I will feel like I've had the most successful career, despite whatever results or medals may or may not come. Like, if we can just keep building it, and then I'll be really happy. Yeah.
What are ways that people can get involved in the women's para ice hockey program, whether it's through reaching out, development, or even supporting the program?
Oh, yeah. Well, we do have development opportunities kind of every few months. So if they can follow along on our social media channels, they'll see the different opportunities to get out on the ice and try it for the first time, or continue to develop their skills alongside the national women's team players. And then on the other side of it, I mean, we are not a carded sport, so we're always self-funding and working to get grants and sponsorships. So if you have a soft spot for hockey and you want to help a player out, there's always those donation sides of things, or volunteering. Like, there's a lot of different roles and jobs that can help elevate this program too. So yeah, we're happy to help, and we're happy to accept all kinds of help within our program.
Well, and it's so important to help foster the growth of such a iconic parasport like para ice hockey. So we just want to say best of luck, Christina. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be following along, keeping tabs on how you and Team Canada do at the World Championships, and we'll definitely have to catch up once you get back home.
Thank you so much. It means a lot.
That was our conversation with Christina Picton of women's para ice hockey. Nathan, I mean, I've had the chance to talk with Christina in the past a couple times. I've always very impressed chatting with her, but you can't help but feel she's at that place where she plays both ambassador, but also athlete, also star on the team, but also community builder as well. There's so many hats she has to wear as she continues to grow the sport of women's para ice hockey, not only in Canada, but also abroad.
Well, what she's done is just absolutely incredible. And you can see that leadership. You can see that kind of just passion, belief, the heart, and it's going to be paying dividends in a couple weeks at the World Championships. And it's just phenomenal to just see the work that she's put in to help grow it. And just having this World Championships is going to be major in so many different ways, of fighting for that Paralympic game status, getting hopefully that carding money, that funding that is so crucial, so important, because she also did say there is that they're often self-supported. They've had groups and organizations like Canadian Tire, Jumpstart come on board and support them, but running a team, running a program, it costs a lot, especially when you need adaptive equipment, and any support that way is major, massive. But what she's done and what she's gonna do it's going to have a lasting impact on not just her team right now, but this team generations down the road. And it's so amazing. Just the love, the passion that she has for every single one of her teammates and what she's going to be able to accomplish is just incredible.
Yeah, and it's also wild to think it's 2025, and this is the first time we've had a women's para ice hockey world championships. Like, you think hockey is everything in Canada. Hockey Canada is probably by far the most the largest and most powerful and influential NSO in terms of sport organizations that cater around Canada's like biggest and most popular sport. It's like, how have we not invested into the women's game more up to this point? It's just it's frustrating when you look at the past, but you get hope looking into the future. And so I'm choosing the path of hope. I see a bright future ahead for Christina and the rest of her teammates and the other players around the world in this sport. And I think in the next 15, 20 years, we're seeing them in the Paralympics. There's no question about that. It just got to get these world championships under their belt before that conversation can take place, because you need the world championships. You need that global involvement in the sport. And I think they're well on their way. That said, you know what else is going to be well on our way, Nathan? You're being put to the test because this is time for another edition of Blind Power Rankings.
Blind Power Rankings.
So, for this edition of Blind Power Rankings, I'm giving you 5 para sports that are non-Paralympic sports, and you're going to be rating them 1 through 5 from the best to the worst. So, are you ready, Nathan?
I guess I'm ready. As I said before, the Paralympic Power Rankings, please don't hate me if I put the sport too high, too low. This is just time to be in the pressure cooker.
Yeah, well, you already got hate from the last one from Goalball, and I think I did as well, so it's perfectly fine. Your first one, para surfing, 1 through 5.
Para surfing. I would say my surf skills are pretty amazing. So I'm going to put it at, I'll put it at a 2 or 3. That was full sarcasm there. I tried wakeboarding once in actually Sarnia, Ontario, and I just hit the water every single time I try to get up on the board. So I'm going to be putting parasurfing at the 3 spot.
At 3. Okay. Your next sport, women's para ice hockey.
That's going to be number 1.
Number 1, smart man, supporting not only our guests, but the women's movement. Your third sport, so you have 1 and 3 locked up, you still have 2, 4, 5. Your next sport, para bowls.
Para bowls. Now, para bowls is actually lawn bowling, and it's not indoor bowling. So para bowls, I am going to put that, and I might receive hate for this, in the 5. I haven't played it yet. I'm curious about it. I need to know more. And once I know more, it can go up to that 2. It can go up to that 4.
Okay, the odd numbers are off the board. 1, 3, and 5 have been set. You got 2 and 4 left. Your next sport, para speed skating.
This is one of those sports we've talked about on the show that we would love to have back in the games. And me being a one-armed user, I would struggle at this, but this would be an amazing sport to watch, to see, participate, and that's why it deserves my 2.
Your number 2. So as we prepare for your final option, so number 1 is women's para ice hockey. Number 2, para speed skating. Number 3, para surfing. Number 4 is open, and number 5 is para bowls. Your number 4 slot here in your power ranking goes to para arm wrestling. Nathan, how do you feel? You could do that sport with one hand.
I could do that sport with one hand. That hurts. Para arm wrestling is one of those sports that it needs the game status. It needs world championship, and it needs all the carding funding.
I have good news for you. There are apparently world championships and international championships in para arm wrestling.
Okay. So you're saying there's a chance that that number 4 spot could turn into something amazing. Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, there is a dedicated community of para arm wrestlers out there. This is something me and producer Jeff recently learned about. It was passed along to us to discover, and needless to say, we've been digging into it ever since. It's fascinating, and you just need to help put it over the top, Nathan. You can go with your strong arm. You can go with old lefty. Either way, I think would have a great shot of representing Canada in para arm wrestling. You got the guns.
Yeah. I'll give you a hand for that idea. But I do think that at some point we're going to need to have our inaugural para arm wrestling battle between you and me, Alex, and we'll let the viewers decide who's going to take that one.
Well, until that day comes, we will have to be patient because we're out of time on today's episode. So thank you at home for watching and listening. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Parasport Nation. Like and subscribe to the channel to follow us now.